Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Wes Fondren. I'm here with Casey King, the founder, director, president, Mr. Everything for the HGTC Addiction and Recovery Series. And we're here for the big reveal to find out who the speakers are going to be this year for the speaker series. Before we get started though, we thought it might be helpful if someone is watching this that's not familiar with the speaker series. And so Casey, let me start off with this question. Can you tell us a little bit about the speaker series, about maybe the history, how it got started, its mission, and just what it is?
Sure, Wes. The lecture series was started in 2008 as a direct result of my own personal recovery. I entered my own path to recovery in 2005. And after about 2.5 years of solid recovery, I felt the need to give something back to the recovery community more than what I was already doing. It's just something that kind of fell into place and has grown over the years.
And so it's a series of nights of, can you tell us what it looks like in a given year?
Right. The series is always Thursday nights. It starts in January and runs to February. It's a series of 4 Thursday nights in a row with a variety of speakers.
Fantastic. And so the mission of the speaker series is to...
Well, there's many parts to it, but the main thing is the goal is to change the face of recovery. When I entered my own path to recovery, I had a preconceived notion of what recovery looked like, and let me tell you, for 15 years, that's dramatically changed. And so my goal is to show that people in recovery do clean up. They wear coats, they look nice, pay taxes, they vote, they do all the things that normal people do, and they have a story to tell, and that's the whole purpose.
They're even capable of doing streaming video announcement reveals.
That's correct.
That's fantastic. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the reveal. So the very first night this year is January 28th, and so tell us about what we're in store for the 28th.
Well, a couple of years ago, I reached out to this actor to try to bring him on campus, and he was busy filming, but I did keep his contact information. Mm-hmm. And then when COVID hit, I thought, and the series moved to an online version, thought it might be a good time to reach back out to this actor. If you remember the movie Poltergeist, which you and I are both of the age where we do,
very scary.
Or if you're on the younger side, if you have seen the movie The Incredibles or The Incredibles 2, you might be aware of Craig T. Nelson. And so Craig T. Nelson has agreed to speak to us on the first night about his own personal path to recovery.
So he was Mr. Incredible in both of those movies. He was also coach, I believe, for a series of years and got some Emmy nominations for that. And then he was in Steven Spielberg's Poltergeist. And so on the 28th, we'll be hearing from Craig T. Nelson about his recovery.
That's right.
Fantastic. So the next week is February 4th. What's in store for the 4th?
On February 4th is Keith Summers. Keith is probably not a very well-known name, but he's a working actor, he's a motivational speaker, and he's got an incredible story. He probably has the best story of any of the speakers. Keith was a bodyguard for a very well-known female celebrity in the 1980s. And shortly after he got this job as the bodyguard, he was involved in a head-on collision that resulted in a fatality. And Keith was fully responsible for it. Keith wound up being sentenced to being served a life sentence, sentenced to life in the California State Prison, and he served 18.5 years of that life sentence. Wow. So Keith was paroled, and as a direct result of that parole, has decided to try to go out and try to return something back to society beyond what he has done.
I've heard Keith's story, and it's absolutely amazing because it's one of those stories that you think, how could someone ever recover from this? Both emotionally from what he went through, but also just reputation and ability to function. And so I'm excited about hearing Keith's story again.
Keith is an awesome speaker.
I'm excited about that. And so the next week is February 11th.
February 11th is a slightly different type of a speaker. If you remember the Beach Boys, it's not a Beach Boy, but it is a Beach Boy's daughter. And so Courtney Wilson has agreed to speak to us. She was also one of the founding members of Wilson Phillips.
And I believe they were nominated for several Grammys, and a lot of people I think will be familiar with Wilson Phillips' music.
That's right.
And then of course, her famous Beach Boy father, and I've actually heard her story as well. It's a very fascinating story, and so I'm excited about that. And then the last night's February 18th.
Well, the last night is a twofer. Wes. So the last night has two celebrity speakers. The first speaker is a friend of mine, Gary Stromberg, and Gary has a decades-long career in the entertainment industry. He was a musical rep for some very high-profile bands like the Rolling Stones, Boyz II Men, and there's a whole list of professional bands that he was a representative for. He went on to be a filmmaker, and he was a co-producer for the film Car Wash, which some of us might remember. And then he went on to produce a movie called The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh, which many of us don't remember. But that was also at the height of his using career, and it was close to his bottom. Gary comes to us. Currently, he's writing books based on celebrities in recovery. And which I happen to have read one of his books, and which leads us to the second speaker. So if you, the book, The Harder They Fall, to give Gary a plug, was one of his books that details celebrities in recovery, and one of those celebrities was Paul Williams. Paul Williams is probably best known as the character Little Enos Burdett from Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Then he went on to Muppet fame. And then he also did some very serious songwriting. They've only just begun. There's many songs that he's written, but he's also going to speak on the 18th.
Wow. So two on that night. That's fantastic. So now that we've had the big reveal and we know how all the wonderful speakers are going to be, I would imagine the question is, this year's different. It's not in an auditorium somewhere that people can attend. So how can they attend and hear these great speakers?
Well, the lecture series this year is normally in the auditorium. The lecture series is normally in an auditorium. And this year with COVID, we're going to do it broadcast in virtual space. So probably the best way to view and to stay updated with all the information is by reviewing the Facebook page for the lecture series.
I see.
If you'll go to HGTC, Addiction and Recovery Lecture Series, and you'll see the emblem that looks like this, the banner that looks like this, and then if you like the page, you'll get all the updates and all the information will be current.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that leads me to my final question was, I would imagine there are some people out there that even beyond this year's speaker series, they're going to want to stay connected and find out who's speaking next year and any events that might be going on. Is the Facebook page the best way to stay connected with the speaker series?
It is the best way.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thanks, Casey. I'm really excited about the speaker series and about hearing some of these wonderful stories about recovery. I hope you guys are going to be able to attend, and I hope you've enjoyed the reveal as much as I have, and look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Wes.